Oh, yeah, that's nice. That's a good look. All right, we're here with a very special guest. You might know him from the Yak. Are you stopping me, or is that?
No, he's doing the number one thing, Frankie. Come
Good
on.
Lord. Do you watch the product
What the
one
hell?
time?
I wasn't
on,
looking at the
Frankie.
screen. I looked down. I'm looking at the camera, trying to be.
No,
this is
know,
staying in.
fucking-
This is
Obviously,
staying
you would
in.
look at the screen if you saw me doing this.
Come on,
Well, I was
Frankie.
looking here, guys.
Start my intro again.
And you're gonna put the finger up.
Oh my God, Frankie.
Sandos, what are we doing here?
We got to What's up, everyone? Welcome to Barstool Breakdown. Today is Saturday, February 24th, and we got a great show for you today. A little bit different than our normal show. We don't have any of our segments this week. We're just going to do the full interview with Brandon Walker, which was an awesome interview for Jonathan and Brandon. I was on like a 10-second delay because I was hosting it, and the internet just could not take it. It was just ridiculous. It was embarrassing, horrible. Hopefully you guys enjoy it because I just freak out multiple times. It was an awesome interview, though. Brandon gives us some insight on how he got into Barstool, when he got the job, his favorite moments, things like that. So without further ado, let's get it.
Get sturdy as fuck.
This is it.
I should be over all the butterflies, but I'm into you. And baby, even on the worst nights, I'm into you.
All right, we're here with a very special guest. You might know him from the Yak. You might know him from the flagship team of the Dozen. You might know him from Quick Picks. You might know him from Hating the Sun, or you might know him as the #1 college football personality voted by Big Time Boomer. It's Brandon fucking Walker. How are we doing, brother?
You also might know me from mostly sports.
That's
you might
right.
know me from wrestling. You might know me from Walk the Line. Bottom line is, I've had a lot of
See, I have
successful
all these
failed shows. Why is he talking while I was talking?
as I'm on a fucking delay and I have to host the show, unfortunately.
What you were getting at, Brandon, is that you've been on a bunch of successful shows. You're a successful host. I mean, Pick Central was in there too.
Pick Central, yeah. No, I do a lot. I enjoy working at Barstool, so I do whatever they'll let me do.
I also had the Brandon Walker College Football Show with Brandon Walker. So
thank you very much. Thank you. That's one that might come back this fall. You never know. You know, I always got them in the holster, and I might just throw wrestling at you. I might throw Brandon Walker College Football Show at you. I might throw a new show at you.
You do all these shows, but I kind of want to start in your beginning because you have one of the more, interesting hiring stories that I've seen. I even just watched that YouTube short where Dave was, discovered you. How'd that all come to be? What got you into Barstool, and were you a fan before, like, you got the call from Dave Portnoy?
So this was April 9th, 2019. I was working out of my house. I did speech writing for a company out of Georgia. I was doing a Mississippi State podcast on the side, and I had picked up a gambling stream for MyBookie. And this was Final Four weekend of 2019. Texas Tech had just beaten somebody, and Virginia had just beaten Auburn, and they were going to play for a national title. And Dave went on Twitter and said, I'd like to put $250,000 on Texas Tech. As you know, Dave, that was a really stupid fucking bet. But that's what he did. And somebody, every day I was going live at 3 o'clock on MyBookie's Twitter channels, giving out picks to about audience of about 25 people. And this day, Dave said, I want to put $250,000 on Texas Tech. Whoever ran social media or somebody at MyBookie called him out on it and was like, hey, you're a fake gambler or something like that. Dave said, fuck this company. And all of a sudden, I showed up at 3 o'clock, and instead of 25 people waiting for me, there were 1,200. And they were angry and they were mad. And I'm pretty sure one of you two were in there. So it was rough. But I just kind of let it go off my back, and I kind of fought back at them. And I played a little bit of the heel, a little bit of the face. And Dave blogged that night that he should hire this guy, being me. And the next day, April 10th, he DM'd me on Twitter, said, I want to hire you. I DM'd him back, said, all right, hire me. Here's my number. Called me, and then 3 hours later, I did my first Barstool stream.
You're going from 20, what did he say, $25 an hour? And then you said, honey, we made it, I think was the end of that clip I saw.
So,
yeah, I beat $25 an hour.
He asked me how much I was making for that. I said $25 an hour. He said, I think I can beat that. And then he told me what the introductory offer was, what the ground floor offer was at Barstool. I said I was in no position to say no, so I took the basement or the lowest offer, the minimum, and took off from there.
Just
Pretty
watch that
silly.
stool scenes and that clip, the rise of Brandon Walker and everything again. And it is really crazy to see you in that clip. You are just the exact same Brandon Walker where you're like, what's happening right now? What, flustered? I'm not flustered. It was so perfect, but your hair was just insane. And I loved your comment about my wife cut my hair right before she died. I was like, well, Brandon's still Brandon from back then. I fucking love the way that you just threw that out there. So that was great.
Well, I guess that is the kind of secret. I do believe outside of my hair and I put on a little weight. I don't think I've changed much. I think the guy that showed up to do that my bookie stream that day carried himself in a certain way, and sometimes he got flustered, and sometimes he said something stupid. But that's that was me, and it's still me today, and it's worked out okay. But the hair did need to improve significantly.
I think you've had a glow up with the hair, especially with the haircut. You're not looking so much like a lesbian. You definitely it definitely helps out a lot. But in that clip, Dave also said that he liked you. Now, do you think that still stands?
Yeah. No, I think, but that's the thing. I think Dave and I get along fine. On camera sometimes when Brandon Walker says something stupid or Dave Portnoy says something stupid and Brandon Walker is the only guy in the company and be like, hey, that was fucking stupid. Yeah, I think Dave will sometimes, and listen, I've done some dumb things at Barstool. The thing with the drink last year was really, really fucking stupid. And in the moment, I didn't like Dave yelling at me and calling me an idiot, but sometimes you got to wear it, and I wore it. But yeah, I think Dave Portnoy likes Brandon Walker. I think he likes what he gets out of Brandon Walker, and I think that's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can say it that they did cheat. Like, I know you can't say it, but he's a fan of a cheating fan base. But I won't try to get that.
He's an
out
Ohio
of
State guy, so.
Oh, he knows.
Well, I live, unlike some at this company, I live up to my blood oaths, and I will not cross lines.
That goes into your personality. I think you are like one of the best at rolling with the punches and just picking up, and that's why you're so good on the yak and stuff. Have you just always kind of had that, I guess, intuition, or have you always just been the type to just roll with the punches then?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm an unorthodox looking guy. I've always been kind of ugly. I've always been a little bit tall, a little bit goofy. Like I've caught shit before, so I feel like I can just take it. I can roll with the punches. I can take a joke. I can give a joke when it needs to be given. I feel like I do okay at that, and because of that, I feel like I can sit down with pretty much anybody in the company or anybody in the world, and me, that person, and a mic, and be relatively entertaining, and I think I can raise and lower however I need to go. But yeah, I think I take it pretty good.
Yeah, I think you proved that too. I mean, I was looking at it here too. You've done shows where you're the host of the show. You do the yak where you either are the host or you take the beating and you just are able to roll with it, which I think is an amazing thing that most people can't do. And you did a show with Clemmer. You did a show, now you got Quick Picks. I mean, you're doing a show with Titus. It's like you can really do anything, it seems like, which is hilarious because a lot of people think like, oh, Brandon Walker, he's a college football guy. It's like, so much more stuff, which is why I think you're so good at the dozen too. And I hate to just be glazing little bro, like you said, but this is, I'm looking here in my notes. I'm like, holy shit, he's done a show with everybody there.
The meat riding's crazy, little bro. No,
the meat riding's crazy.
so when I got there, here's the thing about Barstool. The platform is the platform, and that's the real star of the show. The platform is the star of the show. There are Barstool fans built in inherently, and if you go live on Barstool, they're going to show up and give you a chance. And to me, if you have a platform available to you, throw everything you can at that motherfucker. If you want to do a wrestling show, let's try out a wrestling show. If you want to do a morning show with Kate because it's COVID and you want to keep busy, do that. If you want to do, I'm both envious at guys that do one show sometimes and also a little bit like, I don't know how you do it. I got to get this part of me out. I got to get that part of me out. I'm going to talk college football today, but I also want to talk about NFL. I want to talk about The Rock. I want to talk about that show that was on last night. I want to talk about sports movies from the 90s with Skeletor looking motherfucker like Clemmer. I want to do all that shit.
Yeah, when we spoke to him, Clemmer mentioned how fond he was of you, and he misses you a lot. Says you guys still go back and forth all the time.
Oh, he loves you, dude, for sure.
No, that's I have not talked to Chris Clemmer since I left.
Oh, really?
He might be fond of me. I fucking detest Chris Clemmer. And the day that when he goes into solitary confinement next week, I'm going to treat it basically like Mardi Gras. I'm going to have a parade every fucking day.
Is
No,
that because he won't?
he's a
He
good
has a
guy.
blood oath. He has a blood oath with Kirk. Is that why? I know that you and Kirk have your rivalry. So
I don't know that we have a rivalry either. I mean, Kirk is what Kirk is, and you just kind of he's like a Kirk's like a poisonous snake that doesn't really have poison. So you just kind of, as long as you don't get bit, you'll be fine. But yeah, Clemmer's a good guy too. I love Clemmer.
yeah, you mentioned there. I mean, how you want to talk everything. I think that's a perfect segue into the Mostly Sports, what you're doing now, which has become a phenomenal show. And I mean, since day one, you guys have crushed it. And you and Mark Titus, it's like this natural chemistry. I don't know, like you guys, did you start to build that up in New York? And you're like, hey, when we make this move, like, well, I know the show was discussed and you guys had it planned in a studio and everything, but how'd that all come to be?
Well, I think in Barstool, the people that were friends with Mark Titus before he got here are also friends of mine. And I think when he signed the contract, he kind of knew that he wanted to add a show that wasn't just a college basketball show. He wanted to do the same thing I did. He wanted to talk about NFL and talk about stupid stuff like Mr. Ed playing baseball. And I think he had talked to people and they're like, hey, Brandon Walker and you would hit it off good. And we'd met 3 or 4 times. I think the first time we ever met was at LA at the Dozen a couple years ago. But we just hit it off immediately. Like, when you just vibe with somebody and you know that you can have a conversation with them. And we said, hey, let's try it. And when we sat down in the old office, we did I think a week of trial shows or maybe a couple of days of trial shows that nobody ever saw. And we knew immediately we got something. And can I just say one thing about that?
Yeah.
Mostly Sports is a point of pride for me. I think it's a terrific show. I really do. I know what's good, and I know when I put something out, I know if we got something. I don't think it's just me and Mark Titus. I think the 5 people on that show, it's me, it's Mark Titus behind the desk, but on the couch we have Connor Griffin, who's going to be a fucking star. He's a phenomenal guy and a phenomenal talent. Ebo is also a very talented guy, different from Connor Griffin, but good. And then, of course, TJ's work speaks for itself with him on the Yak and him on Mostly Sports.
Yeah, you got the best voice in the business and the best guy on the sticks.
TJ's a man on the sticks. TJ's a man on the sticks. Connor Griffin has the best voice in the company, and Ebo is also there.
Yeah, because Connor Griffin, though, I mean, pucking your sister, that's crazy. You want to talk about family, and you go straight to pucking.
We're just going to bring up pucking my sister right off the bat. Like, this guy pucked my sister.
That wasn't going to be my question. My question was, he took your sister out, did a little pucking, nothing more. But who would be better than Connor Griffin? Who would you want to see at the company? There's got to be nobody else that you would want to see pucking your sister.
I mean, listen, pucking is a very, very personal thing. So I don't want to get in anybody's business. But I'm a grown man. My sister's a grown woman. Who she pucks, who she goes to hockey games is her business and her business alone. But if you line up this company, all the fucking idiots we have and all the goddamn losers and everything, Connor Griffin would be high at the list as far as a pucker.
Yeah, I mean, imagine Nicky Smokes in that picture.
Oh, Nicky Smokes will never. I will never allow him to.
I knew that was going to be the name.
Right back into Mostly Sports. I mean, what you guys have created there, and it seems like that whole group has kind of done it without the major promotion that everyone else has gotten. I don't know if that's unfair to say. You guys do get promoted, but it seems like you guys really built this thing from the ground up. And no, kudos to you guys because it's one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, I think that was a frustration at first. I think we did feel like that we were not getting the full promotion. But here's the thing, and Dan told me this in the beginning. He said, whether you're getting the full promotion or not, building brick by brick, building by yourself, building without these helpers and without these big pushes will help you in the long run. And while it was frustrating, and I don't want to relive that, I think we were treated fine. What we are building currently and the trajectory it is on, if you look at the number of subscribers versus the number of daily viewers, they're like neck and neck, and that's very rare in a daily live show. I think we're building something very, very strong, and I like that we didn't do it alone because Dan has helped and Dave has helped. We didn't do it alone, but I think we did. We did kind of get the car started by ourselves a little bit.
Dave's cameo was pretty legendary. We can call in after the national championship. I actually just muted that part.
Yeah. And Dave's appearance wasn't so much an appearance on Mostly Sports. He probably didn't even know I was doing Mostly Sports. He simply just called in just to do his stupid ass Michigan shit.
Yeah. Does he still text you every day, Michigan?
He stopped every now and then. It's more like once a week now.
Yeah, I think Miss Peaches probably helps that.
He does. Oh yeah, what the Miss Peaches thing where he's doing the fake voice to try to get pussy. Yeah, that's great. Oh, Miss Peaches. Oh, shut the fuck up, dude. You're 46 and you're rich. You don't have to stoop this low for pussy.
I know Frankie's got a little delay, so it's always like I try to give him a second. Go ahead, Frankie.
I'm sorry. Is Frankie in Guam? Where the fuck is Frankie? Well, Guam, Florida, same.
I'm hosting the show, so I gotta have 1,000 megabytes of internet. I'm sorry.
All right, go. What you got, Frankie?
So you work for a company where none of the shows get out when they're supposed to, and everyone bitches. So I feel like we got to do something kind of like that.
That's fine. You guys have your own Barstool difference.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about Big Cat and how he was, guiding you with Mostly Sports, and how he's, in my opinion, he's like the greatest boss ever. How is that? Because like I think about it all the time. You can leave the Yak or just the office possibly with a new car, or you could leave having to owe him $1,000 just on a random day. So is that like the greatest thing ever, or is it just like sometimes like you're almost like, shit, what's gonna happen today? Because it seems like the best thing ever.
I think the general. First of all, I want to just Dan is our boss out here. I want to say I probably have the two best bosses ever, because I think Dave Portnoy is as good a boss as you could possibly have. But you asked about Dan, and Dan out here, I think what Dan has created is exactly what he set out to create. Not only did he create a place where anything can happen, we could be shooting free throws one day, we could be running laps one day, we could be throwing $500 at each other the next day. What he's created is a bunch of people and that like each other, that love coming to work, and he has created something in his image. Because here's the secret about Dan Katz and Dave Portnoy. They're the hardest working guys I've ever met. They are both rich. Dave's significantly rich, and Dan does really, really, really fucking well. But they work so fucking hard. Dan Katz works all the time. I don't mean he works a couple hours on Monday, a couple hours on Tuesday. This motherfucker works all the time. So if you see the richest guy in your building, and if you see the guy who's your boss doing that, everybody in Chicago can't wait to get to work every day. And I'm speaking for myself, I guess. Everybody can't wait to get there. And I think it just drives everybody to work really, really fucking hard.
Right. And that probably makes that commute a little shorter for you then. Just the excitement to get in the office.
The commute's not that bad. I get there in about an hour and 15 minutes in the morning, and I get home in about an hour and 5 minutes. And my commute in New York was just as bad. It was shorter by distance, but it was just as long by time.
I love Chicago. When we came to visit Chicago, it's a phenomenal city. Have you enjoyed the move then? Like from New York to Chicago? I know it's got to be a little better.
I don't want to shit on living in New York or living in New Jersey, because I think when you come from where I come from, Mississippi, everybody's like, oh my God, that's the worst place ever. Well, yeah, you never been there. So I don't like to shit on New Jersey. I don't like to shit on anywhere. That being said, Chicago and the suburbs of Illinois fit me a lot better. They fit me. I don't know if it's the values or just the speed and the pace of life. I got a lake out here. I got a boat. Everything I want for my family is here, and I didn't have that in New Jersey. So the move has been excellent for me.
Rewind a little bit. Frankie mentioned, number one college football personality. You mentioned by Big Game Boomer. That's a long grind. So how do you go from being, doing your own podcast in your house to the number one college football personality? Like, where does that passion come from, especially with Mississippi State?
Well, really, to me, it's just opportunity. To be honest, there's 1,000 Brandon Walkers out there. There's probably 10,000 Brandon Walkers out there who know and love college football just as much as I do. And they're either working at a local paper, or they're doing a Purdue podcast to 200 people, or they're doing an Idaho State podcast to 150 people. And they love it just as much as I do. I got lucky. Dave Portnoy plucked me off the tree. I didn't do anything to deserve that. But when I got that opportunity, the first thing I did, he just thought he hired some idiot off the internet. And he would later do that when he hired Ben Mintz. But he just thought he hired some idiot. And I emailed him that night. I said, here's what you got. You got somebody who's been a sports writer in college football for 15 years. You got somebody who you can put on a college football desk who can do a podcast. He said, all right, do all that. So I just did it. I got there and I said, I'm going to I'm going to attack college football, and I'm going to do it. What Barstool allows you to do is you don't have a filter. You don't have to be answering to ESPN execs or anybody like that. You just say what you feel about college football. Sometimes that pisses people off. Sometimes they love it, but I just attacked it, and I just try to tell the truth.
I think you're lucky. I think that's true, but I think that if it wasn't you, it doesn't matter because you are the reason why you got the job. It's your personality, like you said, and the way that maybe your hair and your weight changed, but your personality and what you say and do didn't change. And that's
Yeah.
why you work so well with all these shows.
Yeah.
And just like you said, Big Cat works nonstop. So you doing work nonstop is probably just emulating Big Cat. You know what I mean? So I feel like Barstool as a company is just so awesome to see everybody working so hard, whether or not they're at this pay scale or this pay scale. Yeah. Everybody's doing what they can.
Yeah, and I think we get along behind the scenes a lot better than people think we do. As far as like, I'm even talking about Chicago and New York, and I know that the Tate thing with the Keegs and the Nate, and everybody's doing this and that, and everybody's yelling at each other. I think we as a whole get along a hell of a lot better than y'all think we get along. But maybe that's just my perspective.
I think that kind of comes with the content, though, especially Barstool. I like us Barstool fans. That it created the Unnamed show. It seemed because how much they enjoyed the beef and wanted to hear about like the back and forth and all that. Then the Unnamed show comes from that, so that stuff is addressed. But I could definitely see how you guys would. When Clemmer spoke to us, he spoke on like how he's like, these are like, we're actual friends. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so some of this shit, it's like a little over the top, but it comes with the content game. Speaking of the content game, you have a brand new show, which I've tailed the last 3 parlays and I don't think they've hit. I got to check the Knicks tonight, but quick picks. Was that just you, Megan, and Che just like, hey, let's just give out a pick a day?
Well, when we were coming out here, I mean, I guess I could say some of this stuff, but when we were coming out here, I think Megan had long wanted to be in the mix. She was down in Louisiana. And I know she had conversations with Big Cat and Dave about when the move was happening, go ahead and getting up here. And I said, all right, if you get there, me and you'll do a show together, gambling wise. And at that time, Che came to me and he was like, hey, when we get out there, me and you should do a gambling show. I'm like, all right, well, let's just put it all together. And so it ends up being us and, me, Megan, and Che. And we were always going to have a gambling show, and then lo and behold, here came the DraftKings deal, and it just made sense to kind of launch it with that. But what I like about it is it's not, and this is not a shot at Pick Central at all, but it's not a show that is going to sit. We're not going to sit there for an hour and we're not going to talk sports. I started that other show, so I understand like that's all good. I'm just saying we just sit down 5, 10, 15 minutes. Pick, and we get out of there, and we're just trying to win, and we're just trying to interact with the people that will gamble with us. So I've enjoyed it so far.
Yeah, I tried to give Florida plus 9.5 yesterday, but you guys picked the other one. Was the Chat a winner yesterday? I actually missed their pick.
Chat lost yesterday. I don't remember what their pick was, but I just know they lost. And right now the Knicks are up 15 in the third quarter. So
nice. I took a money line.
Yeah, well, that's what I told you to do. So that's a good idea.
Well, you know your stuff from time to time, especially when you speak on the Buckeyes. So I appreciate you when you talk about the Buckeyes. While we're talking about college football a little bit, do you have a favorite going into next year?
I think it's really a 2-horse race, although maybe a 3-horse race. I think Texas will be very, very good. But if I had to pick a national title right now, I think Georgia's going to be loaded. I think Ohio State's going to be loaded. Ohio State's in a league that will add USC and will add UCLA, but they're not going to do much. Oregon will be pretty good. Michigan's going to take a step back. I think it's Ohio State's Big Ten to lose, and I think it's Georgia's SEC to lose, with Alabama taking a big step back. So I think it's Ohio State, Georgia, with an outside shot of Texas.
So Michigan's just dead now with Harbaugh gone?
Well, listen, I mean, I don't mean to, step on Michigan or do anything like, I know I was against them all year and they won a national title, but they won a national title for the first time since 1997. And then their quarterback left, and then their coach left, and then their assistant coaches left, and then every assistant coach but one left. So, I mean, Ohio State did nothing but get better. And people like to say, oh, yeah, Michigan's beaten them 3 years in a row. Yeah, that's true, but that was a 6-point game. Ohio State had the ball at the 35-yard line with 30 seconds left. Like, that game could have gone either way, and Ohio State got better, and Michigan did not get better. So I say Michigan will still be a force to be reckoned with, but as far as favorites go, they took a step back.
No, I agree with that. And I also don't understand the hate for Bill O'Brien being there for a cup of coffee that Ohio State got. But I don't want to get too into college football since you do it all the time. Actually, I did miss that announcement. I saw you guys had an announcement. So what was that? If you could like briefly summarize the announcement with unnecessary roughness.
Yeah, so we've had unnecessary roughness now going into its 5th year, and since we started, it was first it was me, Jack, and Casey. Well, actually, Jack and Casey were on the show in 2018 before I got there. Then I got there. It was me, Jack, and Casey for forever, and then we added Katie Stats along the way. And Jack, I don't know if you've noticed, he'd be a good get for the show because this guy's blown up on TikTok. He's probably the biggest Barstool personality on TikTok outside of Chicken Fry.
We've
And
had him on before.
it might be up there with her. I don't know, but he's blown up on TikTok and he's got his own things that he can accomplish now. So he decided to take a step back. Katie Stats behind the scenes is a monster, and she's kind of carving out a niche for herself in the structure of Barstool over there. So she decided it was time to go, and me and Casey talked. You want to end it here, and we both said no, we don't. And it does very, very well. It does well with advertisers. It does well with listeners. And we rebooted. We're going to have Big Ev and Liam Blutman. Liam Blutman's going to run social, and Big Ev, who has long needed an opportunity like this. He's a very, very good college football guy. So we're gonna roll that team out.
Yeah, very good college football guy. Some would say best gambler at the company. I know there's a lot of people in our group chat that like to tail Ev in his picks.
I mean, he would say that. I don't know if I would say that, but I listen when Big Ev talks about sports.
Yeah, and having Blutman on the team. Have you ever seen a guy like Blutman? That is the most unique person I think I've ever seen.
I mean, we got 4 or 5 Blutmans. See you, Frankie. We got 4 or 5. we got 4 or 5 Blutmans at this company. Just guys that exist nowhere else but the Barstool universe. So he is definitely one of those. But I'll tell you about that kid. He's another one that dude will work his fucking ass off. Like he'll be there from early morning to late night and do it every single day. So that's the kind of guy you want on your team.
Yeah, no context college football. I was following that account, and then once they announced he was hired, I was like, "How the fuck is that the kid behind the scenes running? That's crazy."
I mean, he's a chore to look at, but goddamn, he is entertaining and he's funny and he's smart and he's a hard worker. He's great. It just seems like the total package of what you want.
Yeah. And do you enjoy turtle cake? I guess you had to have had a slice of it by now.
Let me ask you a question, Sandos. Do I look like I enjoy turtle cake?
I mean, yeah, it seems pretty obvious. That's a dumb question. I rescind that question. That was a dumb question.
Of course, I enjoy turtle cake. There was a cake covered in icing and M&Ms. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I'll throw it to Frankie here. I know he's lagging. Frankie, what do you got?
No, I don't. It was just 3 black screens here for a second, so I just walked away to go order the Ethernet thing. $16.99.
I got you. Need 7. I'll send you 17.
Here was a like. This is fucking unbelievable.
Come in.
Does Tommy Walker still get equity of Mostly Sports?
He's got 10%. He's got 10% in Mostly Sports. So yeah, he's Tommy's something, man. Tommy being my 13-year-old son, I think this is the year I got to get him out there and start his own content. He is. I think he's actually he has a future in that. He's just one of those brains that you've got to put a microphone in front of. I've been living with him for 13 years, and I know how unique he is. So I'm kind of excited about. I feel like this is the first year Tommy's really I'm gonna try some things with Tommy.
Yeah, you got to get Rudy up there, set up that stream, especially with college football coming out. It's
and I got to go. And in fact, I'm actually going to be. I got to stay close to home tomorrow, so I'm not going to be on Mostly Sports or the Yak tomorrow. I got to stay close to home because my wife's been sick. But I think at some point I'm going to run to Best Buy, go ahead and pick up a monitor, and try to start building a set here at the house myself.
Yeah, I used to do it. It's definitely a process. But once you get it rolling, that kid's electric. I mean, you've done a great job, and I don't want to meet Rod because Frankie's done that already. But yeah, it's been solid. Just how he's like incorporated and like ingratiated himself, and how Big Cat's taking him on. Uncle Big Cat, he's got the whole Yak Chat. It's hilarious every time.
Yeah, he's a good kid too. I'm enjoying the ride for him. I think it has a lot of potential.
I have one more show related question. I know you're a busy guy, so I'm trying to run through all this stuff.
Listen, I like what y'all do. I got plenty of time. Let's just talk until the conversation's over.
Okay. I'll throw it right to the dozen. So dozen trivia. I mean, it's this Sunday night. You're facing the #1 booze ponies.
Yeah.
It's your show according to you,
Mm-hmm.
but you haven't won a title. Is the title coming this year?
Here's the thing. People don't understand how random the championships and the playoffs are. You know, you get into the playoff situation. If you look back at history, nobody's ever won more dozen matches than us. Nobody's probably within 75 dozen match victories than us. So we lost by 1 to Minahan, who's a monster last year. He wouldn't have been in the finals if I didn't get him there. So even when I lost, I actually had my fingerprints on the winner of the fucking thing. So you can say, oh, it's you didn't win. Yeah, but the winner wouldn't have won without me. So whose show is it?
I guess. I mean, he did put that trophy right in your face. So
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
You know, and I would have put it in his face. So he had the opportunity. I'm just gonna try to you know, we'll see. We'll see.
I think you guys, the experts are
just-
obviously like one of the best teams to watch on that show, and you guys do a great job. But I think Fran is probably the MVP of the team. Would you agree with that?
I think Frankie, even though his internet sucks and he is apparently gets all of his internet equipment from Dollar General, I think he's the MVP of this team. So what do you know about that, Sandos? You fucking asshole.
That seems fair. That seems fair. I mean, you call it like you see it. That's why we're fans of Brandon Walker. Call it like you see it. You don't hold back. So that's fair. I'll take that. Go. And speaking of lagging, Frankie,
Give us something, Frankie. Come on.
So I have a fix. I'm just going to keep talking, even if anybody else talks. I'm just going to talk because I don't care. It doesn't fucking matter right now. What if the championship was a best of 3? What if the finals went over maybe 2 days instead of just 1, and then or something like that? I don't know.
I would have multiple championships at this point. 2 years ago we had a 12-8 lead. We blew it against the who's that team that's a bunch of nobody? Uptown Balls. We blew it against Uptown Balls because Jeff, the last third of questions were all slanted towards them. If that had been 2 out of 3, we win that one easily. If we'd have beat Kirk 2 out of 3 last year, but you know what? It's not, and we haven't won yet, and that's on me. That's on us. So it is what it is. Can we talk about anything else but the fucking dozen?
I was gonna predict you guys win it, but no, I guess we'll move on. Walk the Line was your first show, right? Or was it before that? So Walk the Line.
So Walk the Line was my first show. In fact, Dave hired me at 3:00 one afternoon and said, "Can you take your show live today with the Barstool logo behind you?" I said, "Yeah." I asked to go the next day so I could break the news to my friend who had got me my bookie job, but he wouldn't let me. So I said, "All right." So I Walk the Line started 2 hours after Dave hired me on April 10th, 2019. And then we did it for 3 years? It was me, Jack McCarthy, it was Dana, and it was Marty. And it was really fucking fun.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to get into. I think that a lot of them enjoy that. And there's another show that people enjoyed. And, there's been ramblings. And is wrestling ever going to come back? Is there a way to get it back? You guys have mentioned the Yak Royal Rumble. You're in touch with these guys.
It's always simmering on the stove, right? And I actually had, and I'm not going to name the person, I had a producer, a behind-the-scenes person at Barstool who currently is not tied to anything I do. That person came up to me today and said, hey, don't tell anybody. I'll do wrestling for you. I was like, all right. So now I gotta see. WrestleMania is coming up. I might see if I can drop 3 or 4 wrestling episodes during March just to get everybody ready for WrestleMania. Who knows? But it is the thing I love. It's the show I love doing the most during my time at Barstool. Just because it was just me letting loose and being a heel and being this stupid character. And then I still feel like they made a mistake. I've had many shows go away, but that's the one I ever felt they really fucked up. They really cut our legs out from under us on that show.
Yeah, it seemed like you guys were really like getting into that community. I mean, you were going to the events, your buddies with everybody.
The community is hard to break into. It's a very segmented community. And once they let you in, though, and I had 6 straight interviews that were over 100K views on YouTube, 6 straight. And I was really, really in the algorithm. I was really going, and they just pulled the plug. And it really hurt my feelings because they took that show away a month after I signed my last contract. So I was like, damn, guys. I don't know. It was just, I still get upset about it, but they are running a business, not a charity. So in their eyes, if they thought one way, and I still think the other.
Well, I'm excited to, see that come to a boil and stop simmering because, and I know who you're referring to. He's a former friend of the show, and we actually had him on right before all that stuff went down. But I mean, Nicky the Good, he's the man, and he's the best.
Nicky the Good's amazing, and
Yeah, super talented individual.
I hope Nicky the Good works at Barstool again one day.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one guy that's out there that is as talented and loves it as much, I doubt it because he deserves another shot for sure.
Yeah. I look around at some of the idiots we have, like Ben Mentz, and then I realize Nicky the Good's not employed, and it makes me want to stick this right up my urethra.
Now, is it the 2 weeks off thing that gets you, or is it?
It's the whole thing, man. It's the whole thing.
Yeah, it really sucks being lumped into that, doesn't it? Frankie?
Right up my urethra. The airbrush just straight down the old dick hole.
Perfect. Well, I mean, at least he's going to Florida. He's going on a nice little vacation. You'll be rid of him for a little while.
Straight down the dick hole, Jonathan. Straight down, just, and not even that way. I might turn around this way, just right down the old dick hole, just so it hurts the most.
Are you saying you're never going to be a guest on that show, Wake Up Mincy? I know Kyle had his beef.
Here's another thing. I like that human being too. Like, I just think he's one of the nicest guys in the world, and not a mean bone in his body. But whatever. Yeah, I'll eventually be on there probably. I don't know. Who gives a shit?
Who's your least favorite employee then? Like actual least favorite employee, not just like on camera.
That's the weird thing. I kind of, people think I'm an asshole, or maybe I play an asshole a little bit. Maybe I'm a little rough around the edges. Not a whole lot of people I don't get along with at Barstool, and the people that I don't like super vibe with, I just stay away from, and they stay away from me. Although I don't know that I have a least favorite employee. For storyline purposes, let's say it's Ben Mentz, but pretty much everybody. I'm trying to think who I don't like. Like even remember the Devlin thing. We pushed and got an actual, or I pushed him. We got an altercation. 5 minutes later, we shook hands, and we've been boys ever since. So I don't really have any enemies that I know of. Now, I think there's more people that don't like me than people I don't like.
Someone called that envy, no?
No, because I understand that I can probably be a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, you come off a little, intrusive or, aggressive sometimes.
Yeah, probably. I mean, like
Yeah.
I gotta, but the thing is, I'm really just a super fucking guy.
You're right. I couldn't have said it better myself. You nailed that one. You mentioned your, least favorite being Mentz, but I'm gonna move away from that. What's your best moment, or let's just do it. Your best moment at Barstool, if you had to like narrow it down to one or top three, like what would you signify that as?
Wow. I don't mean to say that. I don't know how to say this without sounding like an asshole, but you guys that like consume the product and everything,
Mm-hmm.
I almost think y'all would have a better answer for that than me, because being in the mix and like it's all just a blur to me, all of it.
No, that's fair.
I would say being on the yak every day and being able to watch up close and personal, watch Nick when he gets clicking, to watch Kyle Bauer, to watch, just being able to sit there and knowing you're among some of the most talented people in the fucking business, not at Barstool, but in the fucking business. There's not a more talented guy in media than Big Cat, who sits right to my left. There's not a funnier guy in the world than the guy who sits to my right, Nick Turaney, unless it's the guy who sits 2 seats over, which is Kyle Bauer. Those are the two funniest people I've ever met. Kate is fucking hilarious. Mark Titus is uber talented. Mook is on the show. I'm on the show. Like, it's just being able to show up to work every day and sit on the yak and like experience that is amazing. And I know that's not a moment, but that's, if you ask for like a highlight, being on the yak for the ride it has been way, way up there.
All right, especially what the yak is and how you can just bring in anybody, and former people you've worked with or that were on the yak, with Roan, who's I think is like one of the most talented people I've ever seen. The way he all of his intros and behind the scenes stuff that he does, he's incredible. And then Lil Sass, who's rising in the comedic scene, and it's an incredible show. And once I got into that like a year ago, and I haven't missed an episode since, because you guys, the riffing and back and forth is incomplete. It's incredible. And yeah, I think you nailed it. It's almost like humbling to be around like all that talent, it seems.
Well, you just think about what it is. We're in the middle of a workday. We're smack dab in the middle of a workday, and we get to just sit down and just bullshit. And there's so much value in just letting yourself go like that in the middle of a workday and just like unplugging. And hopefully we can be that for people. But being able to sit there and absorb Big Cat and Nick and Kyle and all those guys is a true highlight.
Yeah, I feel like it just makes all of those people better, like around them too. Like if you're working with that much talent, it makes you, that much more on your game. It seems.
Oh yeah,
like and you see a completely different side of Mark Titus, where he's not just the college basketball guy. He's not just like doing mostly sports. He's dressing up as, a rose on Valentine's Day, which we missed on President's Day. Can you spoil the costume, or is he going to bring
I'm
it
not
up?
going to spoil the costume because I know what it is, but I will say it was among his best, and I guess you're going to have to wait for 365 days. I know he invested. This was probably his most expensive costume, so I'll just have to say you'll have to see it in a year, I guess.
Well, I mean that sucks, but it seems like it'll be worth the wait. But well, he's done with that whole bit. That's probably my favorite running bit. I'm looking up like the next holiday to try and predict like what the hell's Mark Titus going to show up as today.
Yeah, I guess now we're kind of stuck. We got Easter coming up. That's on a Sunday though.
Yeah, I don't think was he going to dress up like Jesus?
That or the Easter Bunny, right? And then Memorial Day, is he going to be a dead soldier? We'll have to find out.
Yeah, he'll probably come in as like a tombstone or something. He's been such a great addition. Like I know you lose like Roan and you lose Sass, but having Mark Titus fill some shoes and Mook, and then even when like you rotate like the pieces and like even when Blutman comes on and does his little slow molasses talk, like we're all hooked, man. With the Yak Chat is hooked. I don't know what Big Cat was mad about yesterday. What were they complaining about? Was there audio issue?
No, I think sometimes Big Cat and I get it. I mean, we all do. I think there was just a vocal chunk of the audience that Kate sat right beside Big Cat yesterday, and that is something that's just so inconsequential. And we're like trying to sit there and just riff and trying to sit there and vibe with each other. Meanwhile, the chat's saying, "Oh my God, get her out of there! Get her out of there! Get her out of there!" Like, just chill out, just relax. And I think this is what Big Cat was trying to say: just relax. Let us, we're gonna deliver the show that we always deliver, and I don't think who sits beside Big Cat is that big of a deal. I think that was the particular thing he talked about today.
Yeah, no, if there's people saying get Kate out of there, they can go to hell because Kate's fucking incredible too.
Well, it is, and he mentioned this, but part of having a passionate fan base is when those passions kind of turn negative. Sometimes it's no different than sports, but sometimes you need to just tell the passions, hey, just chill out for a second, just relax. The chair will be fine. Just everybody. And I didn't say it. Big Cat said it, but I do believe that was the message he was trying to get across.
Do you have any worse moments at Barstool?
Oh, yeah, sure, fucking do.
Yeah. So, so I mean, we mentioned one earlier that we don't really have to touch on. I think everyone, it's reminded every day when Big Cat says, "Hey, Nick, will you read this?"
Yeah.
But other than that, like, what?
No, I mean, I'll say that. I'll say that. That was really, really, really fucking stupid. And if you want to, you work at Barstool, yeah, you get to say whatever you want. But at the same time, you got to be professional when advertisers are counting on you to deliver their product and they're trusting in you and they're doing all these things. And I just, I was off camera and there was somebody sitting beside me and I tried to make it look a stupid little joke like, just trying to entertain that person. And the mic was still hot and it was really, really fucking stupid and it was irresponsible and almost cost a lot of good people at Barstool. So that was my worst moment. That stupidity and that, just really, really messing up in a big moment. And I've worn it and I've tried to atone for it, but it is what it is. That was my worst moment. And I got to be honest, pushing Devlin wasn't exactly a highlight reel moment for me either. But
so I have an honesty thing about that too. We have a segment on the show called Barstool Beef of the Week, and it cuts to that moment to where it's what and Brandon Walker, and then it cuts to us. Yeah, so just letting you know that we did enjoy the moment from the outside, but yeah, I guess yep, there it is. And Frankie just threw it up.
That wasn't a highlight for me, but you know what? That was also, that's been 5 years ago. So whatever.
Yeah, yeah. You've recovered. You've gone. Speaking of recovering and going forward, what should we expect next? I mean, you've done all these shows already. It seems like you've got something, I mean, you do have something that's grown with the 5 of you on Mostly Sports. You've got
Yeah.
quick picks going on. Is there just are you going to keep it coming? Is there more coming, or have you kind of found what you're doing and you're just going to grow that to its pinnacle?
To me, it's all about, audience. It's all about, trying to squeeze the water out of the rag there and try to get every last drop of audience. And if I'm sitting there in June and I got 5 shows, but there's a 6th show I think might be worth trying, I'm going to try it. So yeah, I'm very comfortable. Let's see. I'm on the Yak, which I love. I hope to never leave that. I think Mostly Sports has opportunity to be a monster. I'm excited about that. Unnecessary Roughness in its new form is going to be great. The
Mhm.
Dozen is, of course, the Dozen. This new Quick Pick show is a great little thing for what it is. And I'm sure I'm missing something, but yeah, I'm just going to keep throwing things out there, and hopefully either people don't like them or they'll get in my DMs and tell me my mother's a whore. So we'll see.
You get some nasty ones, don't you?
I get some nasty ones. I get some real bad stuff, man. I get my house sent to me about every now and then. I get some people that are up there, but I also for every one of those I get 50. Hey man, really love your stuff. Hey man, you're doing great. Hey man, I love everything about what you do. So I do a bad job of posting those. I never post those because I just like to laugh at the ones who just are shaking their fist.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, and you got a boob guy, which is fucking awesome.
I do. And this is wonderful because Sandos, you have timed this perfectly because I've been down here by myself for what, an hour now?
Yep.
My wife just fucking walked in the room. When I say she just walked in the room, I mean she just walked into the room. And we have talked about Barstool and Big Cat. And then as soon as she walks in, you go, boobs. Oh, thank you, Sandos. Now she thinks the whole time I've been talking about boobs.
You're hosting stand up next Wednesday in Chicago. You have to be able to have this type of timing, this comedic timing. It's gonna hit perfect. I apologize to the wife, and
Well,
you're the one that's
Guess what,
saying you were
Sandos?
talking about boobs.
Sandos? Guess what? Why don't you apologize to her again? Because I haven't told her yet that I'm going to be hosting stand up on Wednesday night and not going to be home. So, Sandos, if you don't mind me saying, shut up.
Frankie.
Yeah, just talk to the guy on the delay. That'll be easy enough.
Frankie, ask me a question, man. You're good right now. Never mind.
I don't think I am good because you just answered that like way later. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to talk and it was a delay again.
Well, I've ripped through all I got, and I've gotten the fire out of you, and that we love to see. I just want to take some time to say thanks, Brandon. I mean, you what you've done and like with your career at Barstool and how you give back to the fans, because people don't see the nicer side of Brandon Walker. But I mean, I've met you in person now twice in Chicago and then Vegas, and fucking hell of a guy, nice guy. He's not an asshole, everyone, and he just seems like it. All right.
That part could have been left out, but okay. No, I do, because I know how I act online, because I know how I act on Twitter. When we do have like an event like Dozen, or we go on the road for college football, I'll stay like 15, 20 minutes and just try to shake every hand that's in attendance. I'll like walk around. I'll sit with people. Like I try to make it up in person. The problem is the people you meet in person are 1/100,000th of the people that actually see you online. So I think it's probably a fruitless exercise.
Yeah, half the internet's trolls, but they don't see Brandon Walker standing on the Dozen stage for 30 minutes after taking a picture with every motherfucker that wants to say hi. And that's cool. And I think that's awesome that like with a guy with your platform and your following that you take time and you do that for the fans. And, and then you come on a fan podcast about Barstool and chop it up and shoot the shit. Like that's awesome. And thank you for being here and giving us your time.
Can I shout somebody out?
Yeah, absolutely.
What was his name? Sam Lauderdale. I think last year around this time, me and him had a stupid thing in Chicago at the Dozen where I was in my heel character and I was saying shit to him that was just foul, and then I thought he said something to me that was foul. So we got our wires crossed there, and we had a little feud for a hot minute. But I think that guy's pretty. If that guy's watching, it seems like something he'd watch. So shout out to him because he's cool as hell. He's also reached out to me and tried to send me Chick-fil-A coupons before. But what people don't realize is Chick-fil-A knows how valuable a customer I am, and they take care of your boy. So anyway, what else?
Yeah, he's local over there. He actually, without him, we wouldn't have made the trip out to Vegas. He kind of helped us out with that too. And he's a great dude. And yeah, I was there at that, dozen when you guys got into it. And it was really just you misheard something he said. And then like Sam's fire and your fire just wouldn't quit for a second. So I was like, oh, well, this is happening.
Yeah, like I said, we got our wires crossed, and that was ultimately on me.
Yeah, it happens, especially in the business you are. But yeah, I have nothing else for you, Brandon. I'm excited to see what's next, and just keep following along because you're one of the best in the biz for a reason. And yeah, we appreciate your content and looking forward to see more of it.
All right, thanks, boys. And Frankie, in 2 weeks when you get this message I'm saying right now, I thank you too.
Perfect. I'm waiting for him
Yeah.
to say
So
goodbye.
once he leaves and gets off the screen, I'm gonna say one of my favorite moments of being in Vegas was when I walked up and Brandon was like, "Oh, Frankie Buca, right? Whatever." And I was like, "Holy shit, he knows who I am. This is amazing." And took a picture with me. Nice guy. And all these people on the Yak. The Yak's my favorite show. I'm in the chat sometimes with that.
You compliment me,
Brando, and we're always big Brandon Walker guys. So shit.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have to cut it now, Brandon. No compliments.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. I guess I'm just gonna leave.
Yeah, that's fine because we just upload this all as one. So yeah.
Okay, thanks, boys. If you need anything else, holler at me.
Yep. Sorry about the wife thing.
It's the Barstool Breakdown. Go ahead and give it to me.